In the previous class, we have started about introduction of Python programming language. So this is also continuation of introduction of Python programming language, right? So previously we discussed history, right? How you can install this Python, PyCharm, how you can work with Python code in multiple ways, like by using IDLE, by using command prompt, by using Notepad or Notepad++. How you can install this PyCharm as well, because PyCharm is a popular IDE where we used to code anything with respect to this Python, right? How you can run this Python code inside this PyCharm once you specified your code, we have seen in the previous class. So today we will see few more important concepts as a part of the comments, right? So what are comments? There is a proverb, guys. When somebody comments you, most of the people will react, but there are very good people. If they want to achieve some good things in their life, they will ignore those comments. If somebody makes some criticism in the form of comments to somebody, that person will ignore. If anybody will ignore those comments, definitely he'll be reaching to good position in his life, good heights in his life. Similarly, Python is also a very good language. Not only Python, every programming language is also a good language. What in terms of this Python? So this what this Python will do? Python will ignore these comments, right? During execution, during code execution, during code execution, Python will ignore comments, right? Will ignore comments. During code execution, Python will ignore comments. Yes, this is good. Meanwhile, why we need these comments? You are specifying, you are saying that Python will ignore these comments. That is good. That is absolutely fine. Why we need these comments first? We need these comments to write descriptions, right? To write descriptions, you need comments. So if you can see, previously we have used this print statement. When you see what this print statement does, this is specified in the form of comments. These are all the comments. These are all the comments. You can see it here inside triple double quotes, right? First quote, second quote, third quote. Triple means three double quotes. So in between triple double quotes, you are specifying the comments, right? In between triple double quotes, you are specifying the comments. Comments are nothing but descriptions. Comments are used to write descriptions. What these descriptions will do? These descriptions explain you about logic to understand very easily. So you don't know at the very beginning what this print statement does. So how it behaves. So this behavior, this description is provided in the form of comments. You can see prints the value to a string. That is nothing but to an output or to a standard output by default. So when you use this print statement, it will just print. So this is what the behavior, this is what the description of this print statement, right? So how you can specify these comments? These comments are specified inside this triple double quotes. We will see some simple example. Let us write few more important points. Comments are used to write descriptions. During code execution, Python will ignore comments. That means comments are non-executable codes. Is it right? Comments are non-executable codes. Comments are non-executable codes. Also, we need these comments to make code maintenance easy. Today, you have specified some logic in a function. Tomorrow, your business requirement is changed. So accordingly, you need to change the logic. So meanwhile, to change the logic, you need to know how that logic works, right? You will specify that logic description in the form of comments. So these comments will make code maintenance easy, right? Code maintenance easy. To make code maintenance easy, we need these comments to write descriptions, to execute the code, only the code, but not the description. We need these comments. right? Comments are non-executable codes. To make code maintenance easy, we need this comment. So let us see some simple example. I'm just going to PyCharm, creating a directory day2, right? Inside day2, let me create a Python file, which is nothing but comments. So comments are descriptions which are placed inside triple double quotes. You can see it here. When I just specify first quote, second quote, third quote, you can see automatically 6 quotes, nothing but triple double quotes are automatically highlighted. So inside this triple double quotes, I can specify some comments. So simply you can see it here. This is Python program, right? This is Python program. Like this, if you are having some long description, so that long description, you can just keep that as a single block, which is a non-executable code. If you want to keep that as a comments, you can keep that inside this triple double quotes. You can see, just to take this as a multiple statements, nothing but multiple blocks of description. I'm just keeping them inside this triple double quotes, right? If you keep anything inside this triple double quotes, it will be treated as an comment. Also, let me specify some simple statement: print of hello world, print of hello world. You can see I'm just executing this. When we execute, we can see only hello world is printed in the console. What about these comments? These comments are not executed. So these comments are non-executable code. They will be ignored by Python during runtime. So generally comments are used to write some descriptions about logic, and it will also make code maintenance very easy. This is what with respect to a simple concept, comments. So most of the times we'll write comments as well. When we develop any logic in a function or in a class, we'll write the description, right? So if this is your case, you can just specify in the form of comments. Now let us see identifiers. What are identifiers in Python? A name in Python programming language. A name in Python programming language. Python programming language is called as an identifier. Is called as an identifier. A name means it can be module name, right? It can be module name. It can be class name. It can be function name. Going ahead, we'll see what is a class, what is a function, right? It can be variable name. So these are different types of names generally we'll create. For creating names, you should never follow some random strings. There is some procedure. There are some rules defined. To create a name in Python, you need to follow some rules. Meanwhile, that name, any name in Python, is called as an identifier. Module name it is, class name it is, function name it is, variable name it is. You can see inside this directory, I'm creating a module. So comments.py. So comments is what? A module name. So .py file is a module. Any Python file which is having .py extension is treated as an module. Right? Going ahead, we'll see how you can create a class, how you can create a function, how you can create a variable also. Right? So for creating these identifiers, you need to follow some certain rules. So what are those rules? So generally, only allowed characters are alphabets, right? Only allowed characters are alphabets. When I am saying alphabets, they can be lowercase or uppercase. This is very simple. If you want to create an identifier, only allowed characters are alphabets. Also digits. You can specify some digits. So what are the digits? 0 to 9. Up to 9 you can specify digits. Also only one special character, one special symbol is allowed, that is underscore. Underscore is only allowed. No another special characters are allowed. So only allowed character or symbol is underscore, right? So these are the main rules which you need to understand this. Alphabets are allowed, digits are allowed, underscore is allowed as a part of this special symbol. So dollar is not allowed, right? dollar is not allowed. Very important. If anybody uses this dollar, it will not be allowed. So dollar is not allowed. Also, during creation of a name, you should never start that first character with digit. That means identifier should not start with digit, right? Should not start with digit. You should never start with digit. Very important rules. Also, identifiers are case sensitive. Identifiers are case sensitive. That means if you specify lowercase identifier, if it is having some value, and if you specify uppercase identifier, if it is having another value, when you try to access lowercase value with the help of uppercase identifier, it is not possible. That means if you see here, I am specifying small a whose value is 10. This is what we have discussed in the previous class, right? Capital A whose value is 20. If I want to access 10, definitely I need to specify small a only. If I want to access 20, definitely I need to specify capital A only. If I specify small a for accessing 20, it is not possible. Similarly for 10, capital A, it is not at all possible. So an identifier, a name is a case sensitive, right? Also, we have reserved words, right? We should not use reserved word as identifiers. We should not use reserved words as an identifiers. Very important point. What are reserved words? Reserved words are nothing but keywords. When I am saying keywords are reserved words, that means they are only meant for some specific functionality. That means if you are attending to a function, there are some seats reserved to VIPs. Whether the VIP come or VIP did not come, those seats are left. They will be left aside. If the VIP comes, then they can use that. That means a particular seat is only for a specific person, not for all the things. Similarly, in Python also, there are some words only for some specific functionality. Only for specific functionality. So those are called as reserved words. We'll see going ahead, right? So we should never use these reserved words as an identifiers. We should never use this to create names. It can be module name, it can be class name, it can be function name, it can be variable name also. Sometimes going ahead, we'll also follow how you can follow the naming pattern for creating a directory also. When we discuss this PyTest framework, you will understand how you can follow the structure of creating a directory as well, right? So right now, this is what with respect to rules of creating identifiers. And if you can see it here, I'm saying we should never use these reserved words as identifiers, as names. So what are reserved words, right? What are reserved words? Very, very important. So reserved words are also called as keywords. Reserved words are also called as keywords. That means what they will do, they represent some meaning or functionality. They represent some meaning or functionality, right? To represent some meaning or functionality, you need some reserved words. They are called as keywords. How many keywords are available? There are total 35 keywords or reserved words available in Python. So if you can see it here, I'm creating another module which is keywords. Here's what another module which I'm just creating to see how many keywords are available. What are those keywords? First thing, you need to import a module. Import keyword module. Keyword is what? A module. Inside this module, you are having all the reserved words like reserved seats, right? So how you can access this keyword dot kw list. So once you call this kw list, then you will be able to see all the keywords. Wait. Once you call this, you will not be able to see. Once you call this, it will return you the keywords to see what it is returning. You need to use this print statement, right? If I give you some gift box, what you need to do, you need to open that gift box. Is it right? To see what is there inside that gift box. Similarly, to see what it is returning. If anything is returning to you, to see what it is returning, you need to use this print statement. From now onwards, when I am saying, when I am using this print statements, that means something is returning. To see what it is returning, I'm using this print statement. Printing is nothing but opening that gift box, right? So when you execute this, you can see it here, run keywords. So these are different types of keywords. If conditional statement in membership operator is to get the address, to check the address. Lambda for nameless functions. We'll be seeing all these things, guys. False, boolean value, none, true, and, as, assert, async, await, break, class, continue, def, del. Like this, you are having multiple keywords. Very, very, very important interview question. How many types of keywords are there? What are they? They literally ask you to say what are those reserved words. But it is very, very easy. At the very beginning, if you see this, you will not understand anything. But if you understand what they are meant for, see, once you use this def, right now we have seen, right? This print is implemented with the help of def. That means def is what? A function, right? To create a function, you need to use this def keyword. So going ahead, if you see the usage of respect to keyword, then it is very easy to remember and to tell to any interviewer, right? So inside this keyword.kw list, you are having this respective keywords, nothing but reserved words. They are only for some specific functionality. You should never create a names with the help of these keywords. It is not acceptable. You should never use these keywords as an identifier names. How many keywords are available? So to get the keyword count, if you can see, these all items, these all reserved words are separated by comma, enclosed in square brackets. If items or objects are separated by comma, enclosed in square brackets, it is what? A list data structure, which we'll be going to discuss going ahead. After string data structure, we'll discussing this list data structure. If it is a list, to get the count of items, how many items are present inside this list, we'll use length function, right? So print of length of keyword dot kw list, right? Print of length of keyword dot kw list to get the count of keywords or reserved words available inside this keyword dot kw list. This length also will return you the count. What is the count? To see that count, you will use this print statement. If anything is returning you, to see what it is returning, you will use this print. Similarly, in Java, you will use system.out.println. So when I execute this, you can see how many keywords are available. There are total 35 keywords are available inside Python programming language. When we talk about keywords, that means they are only meant for some specific functionality. They are only meant for some specific functionality, not for anything else. Not for anything else. You should never specify these keywords in the form of identifiers. It is to be avoided. Right? These are the keywords. Let us see what are variables. Let me create another module. I'm just creating another module. This is what a simple concept most of your people might already be knowing, right? So variable is nothing but a container. Let me write those points. Variable. Variable is nothing but a container which will store some data. Which will store or values. To store some data or values, you need a container. So variable is a container. It will store some data or value. Where it will store some data or value, every programming language will be having some memory. In that programming language memory, you will store this data or values. To hold this data or values, you need a container. That container is nothing but a variable. Also, every variable must have data type. Must have data type. That means why this data type is required? This data type is required to specify the type of value you'll be able to store inside a container. What type of value you will store inside this container? You will be having lot of data types. So if you can see it here, you have number data type, boolean data type, sequence data type, mapping data type, set data type. So int, float, complex, true, boolean, string, list, tuple, dictionary, set, frozen set. We'll be discussing all this extensively, but for now, try to understand this. Data type is nothing but determine the type of data which needs to be stored inside a container, which is nothing but a variable. But time God, Python is a dynamically typed programming language, right? Python is a dynamically typed programming language. Dynamically typed programming language. That means based on the type of value you have provided for this variable, the data type of this variable is automatically assigned. You don't need to specify explicitly the data type. In Java, if you want to define a variable, you must define the data type, right? Int of a. So once you define this particular variable with the data type, you can only store the integer data, not any another data. But in Python, you are not having this headache. You don't need to explicitly define the data type of any variable. Just to specify the value, specify the data to that container. So automatically based on the data or value, the data type of this variable is assigned, right? So Python is a very good programming language. It will not make you very stress, right? It will make your life very easy, right? So one of the important feature is a dynamically typed programming language. Python is a dynamically typed programming language. So variable is a container which will store some data or values. Let us see some simple example. Also we'll get the data type as well based on the type of data which we are providing. So let me take a variable. Creating variables. I'm taking a variable a whose value is 10. I'm not specifying any data type, guys. I am specifying only the data inside a container, which is nothing but a variable. Based on the type of data which I am providing, the data type of variable is automatically assigned. So you can see by default, I know this is an integer value. Is it right? I can say this is an integer value. But how to check which data type that particular A belongs to, because it is holding some data. So to determine the data type, you need to use this type of A. Type of A will return you the data type of this variable based on the type of data you are storing. This type, very important, type will return the data type. Type will return data type, right? Type will return data type. Type, data type. You can see data type and type. So you should never confuse. If you want to determine the data type of any variable based on the type of data, you need to use this type. So type will return you something. It's like a gift box. To see what it is returning, you can just use this print statement. Print of type of A. Print of type of A. So when you execute this, you can see it is saying class int. That means it is of class int. So it is just integer data type. It is integer data type. Suppose instead of 10, I am specifying 10.0, right? 10.0. Let me comment this. So how you can comment? So to comment, just to specify control /. I'm just writing the shortcut here. Control plus control button and click on /. So you can see it here. I'm just doing the same thing. So this is what at the very beginning, what I am doing. I'm just highlighting my cursor here and just pressing control / in my keyboard. You can see it is commented. So if anything is commented, it is a non-executable code which will not run during execution, right? So I'm specifying a equal to 10.0. Right now I'm changing the data, guys. If I change the data accordingly, the data type of this variable will be changed. So when you execute this, you can see it here, it is float, right? Any decimal value will be treated as a float data type. So instead of 10.0, I'm specifying single character inside a single code, guys. Going ahead, we'll see what is a string data type, how you can just enclose the string data type as well. So but for now you can see it is class str, that means it is string data type. Variable is nothing but a container which will store some data or value based on the type of data which I'm storing inside a variable. The data type is automatically determined. So let us take one more data or value. Let us take any name from you, like Deepika Das, right? So I'm just specifying Deepika Das here. Deepika Das. So you can see this is a sequence of characters including space. You are just enclosing inside quotes. It is also treated as an string data type. Class str, that means class string, right? So one more important point, as like in Java, you don't have two different data types. One is char and string. Only you have string data type. Either a single character or a sequence of characters, it is treated as an string data type. So when you check this, you can see it here. It is just saying class int. So this is what a simple concept with respect to data type and variable. So variable is a container. So based on the type of data or value storing inside a container, the data type is automatically determined. So this type of behavior is nothing but a dynamically typed programming language. So this is what one of the feature of a Python. So to determine the data type of any variable, you need to use this type method. So this type will return you the data type of any variable based on the type of data. Based on type of data, it will just determine the data type, right? And also one more important thing, what you are doing it here, suppose if I specify 10, guys, if I specify 10, this 10 is a static value, right? Every time I execute this code, for a, 10 is only assigning. I don't want this static value. Instead of this, I want to dynamically read the value from a user. Deepika is a user, right? Yashashwini is a user. Bilal is a user. Presuna is a user. Krishna is a user. Jyoti is a user. So based on their inputs, you need to determine the data type. So to read the data dynamically from the keyboard, we will go for this input method, right? So let me write it here. Input method. Very important. So going ahead, we'll use this input method, but for now, you need to understand this. What this input method will do? This input method will read data dynamically from keyboard, right? During code execution, if you want to provide some input, if you want to provide some data from the keyboard, you need to use this input method. So input method will read data dynamically from the keyboard or from user or from keyboard. It will just read the data. So upon reading the data, it will just pass the data to this particular variable. So let us do one thing. Let me comment this. I'm just using this input method. You can see input. So what this input method will do, this input method reads a string from standard input. So generally, what is the standard input? How you can enter the data with the help of keyboard only, right? That is what a standard input. That's what it is saying. It can be sensor data also. It can be some another memory data also. It can be anything. But in a standard format, how you can input the data with the help of keyboard. So that is what it is saying. So this input method will read the data dynamically from the keyboard, right? So how it will read the data? So I'm just specifying this input method just to specify the message. What message needs to be prompted to user when this code is executed, right? So enter the data. This is what some simple message, guys. I have clearly mentioned all these things in the material. Don't worry, just try to listen this. So enter data. This is what the message which I'm just prompting to user when I use this input method, right? After prompting the user, what user will do? User will enter some data just to store that data inside a container. This container is nothing but a variable, right? Let us execute this. Right click, run variable. So you can see enter data. It is prompting me to give some input. So I'm specifying Bilal, right? You can see it here. Bilal is what the data which I'm dynamically giving from the keyboard. It is storing inside this container. Based on the type of data, it is just determining the data type. So what data type it is? String data type. And one more important point, guys. I'm executing this one more time. Try to observe this very carefully. I'm specifying 10. Previously, Bilal is nothing but a sequence of characters. A sequence of characters is called as a string data type. Good. But right now, I'm specifying 10. Generally, 10 is an integer value. Try to understand and observe here. Still, it is showing me string data type. Why it is showing me string data type? The reason is whatever the data which you are reading from the keyboard or from the user by using input method will be treated as an string data type, will be treated as an string data type. So that is the reason, if you see the definition of this input method, it will read a string data. Whatever the data you provide, it will be converted to string data structure. So that is the reason, even though if I enter 10, it will just showing you a string class. That means it is a string data structure, right? So whatever the data which you are reading dynamically, it will be treated as an string data type. No, 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 no. Whatever the data which I am providing with the help of keyboard or user, I want to convert that into integer data type, right? To convert that into integer data type, what you will do, you need to use this int to convert into float, right? So what you will do, you will just use this float to convert into another data type. Like, let me specify another data type as boolean. Let me specify boolean. You will specify bool, right? Bool of that particular value. So this is nothing but typecasting. By default, you are reading the data by using input method, so the data will be treated as a string data structure, string data type. I don't want this string data type. I want to typecast. I want to convert the data type from string to another data type. Like it can be integer, it can be float, or it can be boolean. So here comes the typecasting. Here comes the typecasting. So what is a typecasting? What is typecasting? So if you can see the definition, converting from one data type to another data type is called as typecasting. It can be string to integer, it can be integer to string, float to integer, boolean to integer, integer to float, right? It can be complex, it can be string, like anything. So these are different typecasting functions available to convert from one data type to another data type. If you want to convert to string to integer data type, compulsory string should contain only one integer value, right? So should be specified in base 10. So that means what this point says, let us execute this one more time. Right click, run variable. So you can see I'm just specifying Bilal has born in 1960, right? I'm just clicking on enter on my keyboard. Once I click on enter, you can see this data consists of characters and integer data. Still, it is a mix of string and integer. Still, you are just considering this as string data structure. I don't want to be in string data type. I want to convert into integer data type. Try to understand this. How I can convert? I can just use any other typecasting function. So to convert it into integer, I can use this int of a. So by default, it is string. I want to convert this to integer. So I'm specifying integer of a, right? Integer of string. So a is a string. You are just converting it into target. What is the target? Integer is what and target. Right? After converting it into target, I'm just storing it in some variable. You can see it here. Print of type of a. Let me specify it here. And print of type of b. After typecasting, after converting the data type also, I'm just printing which data type it is to make sure, right? Run variable. You can see I'm specifying Bilal 1960, right? I think Bilal is not born in 1960, just for your information. So you can see when I enter this Bilal 1960, what is the next statement? Print of type of a. You are just checking which data type of this data stored inside this variable is, which is string data type. Because by default input method, any data which you give, it will be treated as a string data type. After that, what you are doing, you are just converting that string data to integer data. After converting, storing it in some variable. And again, you are trying to determine which data type it is. But if you can see, during conversion, what it is saying value error, invalid literal for int with base 10. That means to convert a string to integer, That string must contain a decimal value inside quotes. It should not contain string and integer. So if it is containing string and integer, by common sense, you can say how you can convert into integer data type. If it is converting, if it is having some decimal data inside quotes or number inside quotes, directly you can convert it into integer. But if it is a mix, you cannot convert it into integer. So let us execute this one more time. But try to observe this particular example below 1960. Right now, what I am doing, I am just specifying 1960 only integer data. So if it is only integer data, yes, without issue, it is directly converting it into integer data type. So this is what with respect to typecasting. This is what with respect to last point. So if you want to convert to string data type to integer data type, compulsory str should contain nothing but string should contain only integer value. Right? 1960 is what the only integer value. Except that I'm not specifying anything, right? So and it should be specified inside this format, right? So based on format. So 1960 is also in decimal format. So this is what with respect to the basic introduction of Python programming language.